Okay, hi guys, it's Steve from www.fastermule.com. Um, just a maths puzzle, really, or a kind of conceptual puzzle for where the maths of poker falls down because our level of skill varies depending on the stage of the tournament. I mean, this puzzle here, which I think is probably going to be the easiest one to solve, and I'd imagine one of the sit and go players at Grinder School, www.grinderschool.com, will be able to give us a pretty decent answer to this. Um, but what the concept here I was trying to look at was there's three of you left, and it's even stacks. It's an iPoker 10-man sit and go, 50, 30, 20 payouts, 300, 600 blinds, and the button shoves in. I've just left the range at default. I haven't worried too much about the range. He probably is going to shove a little bit wider than that, but whatever. Just for the sake of the video and the maths and the concepts I was trying to get across, I just left it as the default. And you can see here, it's a plus EV call with ace 10. Well, what I was thinking about was, well, what about for a player who performs, for whatever reason, disproportionately well heads up? So three-handed, he's kind of average, pushes about right, but heads up, for whatever reason, when his opponents make mistakes and do strange things or try and trick him, or for whatever reason, he has a fantastic results heads up. So getting into second place is worth more for this player than it would be for any normal player. So the value of not busting third is higher for him than it would be for an average player, which of course ICM doesn't take into account because of it doesn't account for any differences in skill. Now what I tried was just to put a test structure in where I valued second place higher, so to kind of model the fact that if he busts in third, he loses his chance to play heads up, and therefore loses that extra equity that he normally gains from his increased heads up skill. And you can see that at some point, I mean, I just picked these numbers at random, and it did come out as a fold. But I guess you could model it to find the break-even point, and then try and model that into what percentage of the time he would need to win heads up above what the average player, as suggested by ACM, would achieve in order to model whether he should fold this hand or not. But at some point, at some value of him not busting third being important, he should fold the ace 10, even though standard ICM would suggest it's a clear call in this three-handed situation. But because of his disproportionate skill heads up, at some point you're going to be able to model it so that he should fold. Now, this is probably an extreme example. It probably applies more with some slightly more marginal hands, but it was just something I was thinking about, and it's something where I think we can model it in other types of poker as well, like say a 45-man sit and go. When you make a final table, even if you make it a little bit shorter, you achieve, relative to what ICM suggests you would achieve, a disproportionately high return. Then making the final table becomes massively more valuable than taking a small plus chip EV shove in the mid-game stage. I can't necessarily say what reasons you would have for having these disproportionately high levels of performance. Maybe you have really sick reads on a few of the regulars that are always making the final tables. Maybe you always play perfectly in those situations, but you just play average in the mid-game situation. There can be all kinds of reasons, but you may, you may benefit from arriving on slightly more final tables, but with less equity, so that ICM would suggest that you would win less. You may, because of whatever disproportionate skill edge you have in final table situations, you may actually win more money, and that might lead you towards not wanting to take some marginal but apparently mathematically plus chip EV shoves in the middle game. I just thought this is a simpler situation to model because I'd imagine someone can do the maths on this with some kind of hacked ICM calculation, and maybe produces some kind of graph and work out how disproportionately good at heads up you'd have to be in order to make some folds or pushes differently from what ICM would normally suggest. I just obviously would be really interested to see what sort of thoughts other people have on it. So this is Steve Faster Mule doing a quick video for www.fastermule.com and for the www.grinderschool.com forums. Hope you guys found it interesting, and hopefully we can get some good discussion going.